I just figured that, you know, I could have at least some positive effect, you know, on their attitude and the way they look at things. And, you know, they're no different than any other, you know, people. They need to know that they're important, you know, and so many times, you know, we tend to push the kids to the side, but they're just as important as we are, you know, and they just need to know that.
Barry is gaining fans, both young and old. Earlier this week, Paul Roach went up to him and said, "You're a great football player, but you're a heck of a guy." Bob?
All right, Charlene, thank you. And Oklahoma State will kick the football off. Wyoming won the toss and will receive, and Kerry Blanchard, a sophomore. An honorable mention All-American as a punter as well, to kick it to either Peter Gunn on your left or Dabby Dawson, the boyhood friend of Barry Sanders, on the right. And here we go with the Cowboys of Oklahoma State kicking it away. And right through the end zone, a bit of communication problem there between Gunn and Dawson. First down for Wyoming at their own 20. The quarterback of the Cowboys, WAC Offensive Player of the Year, Randy Welniak. Junior Dwayne Jones, the fullback. WAC Newcomer of the Year, Dabby Dawson, the tailback. The wide receivers, senior Freddie Doucette, back from a knee injury, junior Ted Gilmore. Senior Tom Kilpatrick is the tight end. The center is senior Grant Salisbury. The guards, senior Sean Weir and sophomore Tyrone Fidgey. Two-time All-WAC senior Tony Kapushin, and huge junior Steve Slay at the tackles. Off the left side, Jay Fleischman up from safety to make the stop on Dabby Dawson. Defensively, the Cowboys, sophomore Ruben Oliver starts at nose guard for OSU. The tackles, sophomore Brandon Coburn and freshman Stacy Satterwhite. Senior David Bailey, sophomore Devin Jones the ends. Juniors at linebacker, Torrance Cummings and Sim Drain the third. Senior Melvin Gillum and freshman Mike Clark at the corners, with juniors Lamar Griggs and Rod Smith the safeties. Scott Gibson in motion to the outside, and Welniak to throw that way. Ball is up over the 25-yard line. Not enough for the first down. As catching it is Scott Gibson, a 6'4 sophomore out of St. Louis. Third on the depth chart, but a busy man here early.
Well, everybody catches the ball for Wyoming. What they would like to do against Oklahoma State is control the ball offensively, but they're a passing team. What that means is control passing. That's exactly what Welniak did on that game. He does not have a strong arm, but he's very accurate and very smart, and Wyoming would like to keep the ball away from the offense of Oklahoma State.
Third down on the 28.
They'll throw on third and short. Under pressure, Welniak is sacked behind the line. The nose guard, Ruben Oliver, 55. And this is an Oklahoma State team that has roughly 1/4 the sack total of Wyoming coming into this bowl game.
As I said in the open, they've had problems defensively. Ruben Oliver, coming off knee reconstruction surgery, came back around the middle of the year, is now just rounding into shape. That's a big play for a beleaguered defense early in this game.
Tom Kilpatrick will kick it away, a low snap. And Sanders at the 41. On the short kick, the Cowboys of Wyoming had pretty good coverage and a 35-yard kick, 5 on the return. Here are the Cowboys of OSU. Mike Gundy, now the #3 throwing quarterback in Big 8 history. Fullback Garrett Limbrick, a senior, a fine job of blocking for Heisman winner Barry Sanders. All-American Hartley Dykes, the Big 8's best ever at wide receiver, along with junior Jared Green. The tight end is junior Vance Weiss. The center, senior John Bovair. All-American Chris Stanley and Jason Kidder, the guards. Mike Wolf and Byron Woodard are the tackles. Good field position for Oklahoma State. Barry Sanders hit initially behind the line by Mike Scheinbeck, 55. Pat Raybould and Craig Schlichting, the tackles up front. Sophomores Mitch Donahue and senior David Dean, the ends. They're all WAC up front. Sophomore Steve Addison starts at middle linebacker. Senior Mike Scheinbeck, sophomore Willie Wright, the all WAC linebackers. Eric Coleman and Steve McMillan, seniors at the corners. The safeties are Rich Miller and junior Darrell Harris. Sanders weaving his way to midfield. Wrapped up by 22, coming from the middle linebacker position, Steve Addison. Barry Sanders, the storybook year, 24 NCAA records. He's been over 300 yards 4 times this year. Kevin, his low came against Texas A&M, 157 yards. We have to put that low in quotation marks, of course, but that's a team you thought coming into the season was one of the top defensively in the nation.
Well, evidently they were. They held them to 157.
Gundy rolling on 3rd and 5, and he's got Hartley Dykes inside the 40-yard line to the 38 of Wyoming. Eric Coleman, the best secondary man for the Cowboys of Wyoming, up to force him out.
Well, you hear about Sanders, but Gundy and Dykes are just as valuable and equally dangerous here. There's no underneath coverage because Gundy rolled that way, forced the short man to come up to get him. Feared that he was going to run, and he threw it to Dykes. These guys are tough, and that guy is very tough.
Dykes with a couple of Big 8 records now to his credit. He's an All-American. First man through, fullback Garrett Limbrick. One of the unsung heroes of Barry Sanders' success. Limbrick, a 6'2 senior out of Houston, averages 5 yards a carry. The Sporting News did some research and named this player an All-American. He went largely unrecognized throughout the rest of the country.
I remember Dwayne Thomas years ago was the blocking back for Mercury Morris. Dwayne Thomas came in and turned out to be a pretty good back. He may be that type of back, an excellent blocker, and who knows what kind of runner. He's only carried it 45 times.
Little flare left side and hit hard. Jared Green on a big smash by Steve McMillan, a senior out of Denver, coming from right corner, and Jared Green will remember that hit.
You could see this thing coming. It was a lateral pattern straight to the sideline. Gundy looking all the way, and McMillan is running right now. He's on a fly to Jarrett, and here's the result. Helmet to helmet, and the Cowboys are not real quick in the secondary, but they will hit you.
Oklahoma State outstanding on 3rd down this year. This is one of the reasons why he's gone for a touchdown. Barry Sanders, 33 yards. Barry Sanders, 37 touchdowns on the ground during the season. Another one here tonight. Gary Blanchard perfect on 67 attempts. A Big 8 record, rifles it through. And less than 5 minutes in, Oklahoma State has the first score of the game. And is it a surprise?
No, no surprise. Number 32, Garrett Limbrick, leading on the corner. There's the big block, and then the acceleration by Sanders, something that he does so well. Now, the Wyoming defensive line is not very big, but the right side of that offensive line, anchored by Woodard, is extremely big, 300-pound Woodard, and this guy's acceleration coming right at you, matched by none. He holds all the records, and he gets in first.
4:47 into the football game, first quarter, and Oklahoma State, behind the Heisman Trophy winner, has the early lead in the Holiday Bowl. Something with the kickoff of Gary Blanchard. Last time they let it bounce through the end zone, and it's Dabby Dawson inside the 10. And he's got a seam out over the 30-yard line, and a good stop made on special teams by Melvin Gillum, a defensive back with a maybe touchdown-saving tackle. Now back to the touchdown of a moment ago.
Well, the only fella on the offensive line, number 56, Woodard, 304 pounds, that they give a chance. Here comes Sanders here to the left of your screen. Now, he's the only player they give a chance to make in the NFL. Even though it's a fine offensive line, they think he's the best.
Less than 3 minutes to go, better than half the field in just 6 plays for the Cowboys of Oklahoma State. Second possession coming up for Wyoming. 11-1 on the year, 8-0 as champions of the Western Athletic Conference. They were narrow 2019 losers in this stadium a year ago to Iowa of the Big Ten. The Cowboys called timeout as the clock was down to 0. Welniak using a timeout rather than being strapped with a penalty early in the game. What a story. Paul Roach named the head coach 2 years ago. He's never lost a WAC game. He's 16-0 in conference play.
He's never not been WAC coach of the year. How about that? In 2 years. He's a brilliant offensive mind and has been, of course, in professional football. I think that's why they had the timeout. Oklahoma State came out in a 4-4 stack defense, tight inside, and I don't think that's what Welniak was expecting. This is a passing team, and he may have been a little bit confused. And when you think about it, that's taking a page out of the other book, because that's what Wyoming wants to do to State. Didn't happen that way.
Pat Jones is in his 5th year, came to Oklahoma State with Jimmy Johnson from Pitt. Johnson, of course, has gone on to a great program at Miami. Pat Jones has built a pretty good one in Stillwater. He's 43-15 and is about, if they can win tonight, to coach his 3rd 10-win season in Stillwater.
That's a remarkable accomplishment when you consider that most teams have an automatic 2 losses going in if you're not Nebraska or Oklahoma. But he's creeping up, and as they are in Colorado, creeping up on those 2 superpowers in the Big 8.
Out over the 35 to the 37. Randy Welniak was looking outside for Dwayne Jones, the fullback. Evidently, Jones either fell down or was tripped, and suddenly Welniak had no one to throw to. He got a long 3 on the play. Sim Drain and Torrance Cummings, the linebackers for Oklahoma State. You saw number 95, Gordy Wood, flash into your screen. Wyoming will bring plays in and shuttle tight ends and wide receivers in and out of the game all night long. Right now it's Gilmore and Doucette out on the left side. There's Gordy Wood, a 6'3" sophomore out of Bremerton, Washington. One of 3 tight ends, Kilpatrick, Wood, and John Brazee.
Gordy Wood has never lost a conference football game ever. In junior high school, he was undefeated. In high school, he was undefeated. And in 2 years of Wyoming, he's undefeated in conference football games.
Wyoming will be faced with a 3rd and 4. This is an important drive for them to get something established early in the game.
You don't want to get more than 5 touchdowns behind in this when you won't be able to come back.
Welniak running out of time. And coming from linebacker, Sim Drain III, a junior out of Stillwater. He was a starter his true freshman season, and the experience showed as he made a good open field tackle.
Well, the coverage was there, too. I think when Welniak turned outside, as you see the end of the play with Drain making the tackle, when Welniak turned, he expected to see somebody open, but the Oklahoma State pass defense was all over the Wyoming receivers, and there wasn't anybody.
Tom Kilpatrick hit for 35 yards his first time. Another low snap and an end-over-end kick. Sanders and company will watch it as the Wyoming Cowboys down it just outside the 25 of Oklahoma State. 36 yards on the kick with no return. Almost 7 minutes into the first quarter. Oklahoma State by 7 minutes left in the first quarter. Cowboys of Oklahoma State on top 7-0. Only 3 players in college football history have rushed for more than 200 yards a game over an entire season. We'll tell you more about Barry Sanders' lofty company after this initial carry on the Oklahoma State drive. It's over the 25-yard line, and it'll be 2nd and long for OSU. Rich Miller, the stop from free safety for Wyoming. Ed Marinero back in the early 70s. Marcus Allen. Marinero went 209 yards. Then Allen, 10 years later, surpassed that. And Barry Sanders surpassed them all here in the 1988 season. And a pretty good healthy chunk of 238, almost 239 over that mark of Marinero and Allen. Gundy rolling, dumping it upfield, and catching the football at the 35 is Barry Sanders. Rich Miller from strong safety to get him. So Gundy doing some rolling and improvising and finding number 21. If you're wondering about Barry Sanders' receiving stats, that is the 20th pass of the year he has caught. Mike Gundy, Kevin, you saw him a couple of years ago as a third-string freshman suddenly become the starting quarterback.
I was at that game. It was against Houston. I was covering the Big 8. And Gundy found out at halftime. His dad found out before he did that he was going in. And I'll tell you a little bit about that in a minute.
Pitch to the deep man, Sanders diving for first down yardage. Maybe. He had to get to just short of the 36-yard line. And if the official on the near side is any indication, Sanders made it by a foot or two with pressure from all-WAC Defensive Player of the Year, Pat Raybould, at left tackle for Wyoming.
Pat Jones stopped going in the locker room and said to his dad, to Mike Gundy's dad, asked him if he thought Mike knew enough of the offense to play. Dad said he thought he did. He put him in there, and Pat said, we'll run one play, but we're going to play him. And they've been playing him ever since.
Pat also said Mike thinks he knows everything.
Yeah.
His teammates like his cockiness. He's a great leader out there, and he gives it to number 21 again. Straight ahead to the 38, maybe the 39. Craig Schlichting, the least celebrated member of the Wyoming front four. He only made second team all-conference. The others were all first teamers.
A lot of all-conference players here. Raybould standing up the center, clogging it up. A lot of Wyoming players in there. No place for Sanders to go. Wyoming is not a team that plays straight defense. They like to move around, but very difficult in this game. If they begin to stunt and they get caught out of position, Barry Sanders is going to go for a touchdown.
Oklahoma State in its fourth bowl game under Pat Jones. Out to the left side, Jared Green caught it. Did he have possession? The official says yes, and it's Wyoming's football. Green had it long enough, and the Cowboys of Wyoming forced the turnover. Steve McMillan, 47, with the big play.
I'll tell you, can't ask any more out of a defensive back. He has the coverage first. He's going to be there. Then he's going to make the tackle. And then he strips the ball. And then he recovers the ball. I mean, usually you get 4 guys do that. Steve McMillan, you remember he made the big hit earlier. That's a tremendous defensive play.
On the year, Wyoming forced 29 fumbles and recovered half of them. And now good field position for the offense. Randy Welniak and company unable to move the football a lot so far. Obviously their deepest penetration of the game. Dabby Dawson can't find the handle, and does just in time, as Devin Jones and Brandon Colbert were all over him, 31 and 91 respectively.
A sidelight in this game, of course, is the friendship between Barry Sanders and this man, Dabby Dawson. Barry's already got his. You know, Dabby's thinking end zone here. He's a little nervous. And when you think about a dream come true, 2 kids playing on a playground in Kansas as youngsters, and now they're in the Holiday Bowl, and one's got the Heisman Trophy. What must be going through their minds?
What's going through Welniak's mind is second and long. A fake to the fullback, play action, and it's sack time for OSU. 58, Terrence Cummings from linebacker. David Bailey with some help from left defensive end. And Oklahoma State, not the biggest front four, but they showed some quickness that time.
Well, Wyoming had great difficulty. You may remember if you saw the game against Houston, their only loss of the year. Blitz inside. You see not enough people. And he's the one, number 58 is the one, Terrence Cummings, that forced Welniak to pull the ball down. And Wyoming did not do a good job against the blitz against Houston and has not done well in this game. 3 sacks, 14 yards so far.
About 20% of Oklahoma State's season total in 11 minutes of this game. Welniak rolls. Sideline, incomplete. Looks like pass interference on Melvin Gillum against Crandall Mack of Wyoming.
Absolutely is pass interference, no question. Gillum, had he gone around him, he had a chance to intercept that ball, but he went right through the receiver early. That's a big penalty there.
Melvin Gillum, considered by many to be Pat Jones' best defensive player in that secondary, a senior out of Tulsa. 14 career interceptions. Maybe did a little bit of gambling there, trying to make a big play to get the ball back for his team.
Well, I think he made a poor decision. Now, he had a chance to get it. He had coverage, but see, he has a chance to come inside. He doesn't come inside. He goes directly behind the receiver. And when he did that, he was early, and that's what caused the penalty.
So the chains move, and Wyoming will get a first down inside the Oklahoma State 45. They'll mark it at the 44. And it takes a penalty to get the Cowboys from Wyoming their initial first down.
Now look out for hot receivers here now, or the running game, because they're blitzing and they're going to go to hot, quick receivers.
Running hard is the fullback, Dwayne Jones. That'll be a first down inside the 35. Jones, a junior, gained 12 on the play before Devin Jones could get him. Dwayne Jones is a fullback who will help out in goal-to-goal situations, because sometimes they'll go to the fullback, not the tailback when they get down deep. So he's versatile.
Well, one of the things you can do to stop Wyoming, because they will confuse you, you can make it very simple if you blitz against them. That simplifies the Wyoming offense, but you better be right, and you better not get caught out of position or block. Wyoming will find a seam. They're not all that quick, but they're very smart.
Good defense again by Oklahoma State. Sim Drain got him first, and then Mike Clark with help from the secondary. Drain 53, and then Clark number 1 teaming up for Pat Jones' defense, and they played pretty well so far.
Again, a team that does not make good decisions, you take the decisions away from him. Drain he doesn't know anything. He didn't care what the formation is. He's coming. And when you do that, you simplify it for your defense. Really a brilliant strategy from Pat Jones and his defensive coordinator. They've had problems with recognition. Forget the recognition. Let's use the athletic ability.
Back at the 40-yard line. There was outside pressure from Sim Drain. Devin Jones, 31, came in from left end, and he basically destroyed the play for the defense of Wyoming, or rather for Oklahoma State.
Now what they're doing, they're loading up on the right side, or they loading up on the wide side of the field. Here, what you're looking at here is Drain, but on the outside, Devin Jones. See how they're loading up? There's just too many defensive players for the offensive guys that are blocking them. Welniak has no chance to set up, no chance to look for a receiver. Wyoming's going to have to hit quick with a pass or block those guys.
They're down at 18 for Wyoming. Back to the side for Scott Gibson. Inside the 20. And if his forward progress is marked there, he'll have the first down on 3rd and long.
Again, the downside of assigning people things before the play, you take the decision. You're looking at the offside. It's a sprint out. See, they're running the receivers. The receivers are running the defensive people off. But the key to this is Welniak rolling away. It's a throwback screen. Aggressive pursuit by Oklahoma State. That's what they're known for. Nobody there. Drain gets blocked or pushed. And off we go.
Peter Gunn, number 24, inside the 20, off the right side. First appearance by Gunn, one of 3 of Paul Roach's tailbacks. And now the Cowboys of Wyoming on the move as the clock continues to move. A rather quick moving first quarter that's down inside, a minute and a half.
Wyoming is accomplishing what they set out to do. They're eating up the clock. Very smart move by Paul Roach. Took Davy Dawson out of the game, probably thinking that Oklahoma State was keen on him. He had 1,125 yards. He's giving it to other people, and now maybe throwing off the keys of the state defense.
Inside the 15, down to the 10, and inside the 5 goes Randy Welniak. Credit Welniak with 15 on the play.
Well, this is why you want to blitz this guy, because he used to be a wishbone quarterback. You don't need a rotator cuff to do this. He has a whack record, 14 touchdowns on the ground this year. Look at the strength of this little guy. He runs through that. Jones can't get him. And now he's got a nose for the end zone. He's been in there 14 times this year, a little short, but he'll give the defense something to think about.
Keep in mind, Randy Welniak has scored 14 touchdowns on the ground this year. It's the quarterback, and he's in for the score. Beautiful bootleg fake by Welniak, who has now a chance to get the game back even. Sean Fleming has not missed an extra point this year. That makes 58 in a row. So with 50 seconds remaining in the first quarter of play, Wyoming ties it up at 7.
I don't know how you can forget about this guy on the goal line. Here's your fake into the line, but somebody has to be aware of Welniak. Nobody makes contact until he's on the 1-yard line, and he's in, and you have to give this kid credit. He's not all that big.
Barry Sanders for Oklahoma State. Randy Welniak for Wyoming scoring.
About it, they were walking him up and down the bench, and now they're working on his ankle, and well, they're optimistic he'll be back in. Bob.
Meanwhile, the Cowboys of Wyoming will kick it off in this tie game. So a couple of scores on the ground. Sean Fleming, a freshman out of Canada. He's from Vancouver, British Columbia, and was honorable mention all-WAC in his initial year. Good job with field goals and extra points. Barry Sanders with Mitch Nash back to receive the kick for Oklahoma State. With Sanders in mind, they squib it down to the 10. And that's where Barry starts, straight ahead, just over the 20-yard line. And Oklahoma State will start there in the tie game. ESPN's bowl coverage continues Sunday, New Year's night, with the Mazda Gator Bowl. Vince Dooley in his final game for Georgia against Michigan State Spartans. And then on Monday, January 2nd, New Year's game day, Tim Brando and Beano Cook preview all the day's bowls with live reports from the Fiesta, Sugar, and Orange Bowls. And it all begins at noon Eastern. And Tim's special guest, Pittsburgh head coach Mike Gottfried. The Panther coach played both Notre Dame and West Virginia this year. He'll be adding his insight to the possible national championship for the Fighting Irish or the Mountaineers. Gundy for Dykes. Ball delivered low, and Hart Lee, as fluid as he is, made the catch look relatively easy in traffic.
Man, you're looking at that man. He's a wide receiver. He's 220 pounds. He's a wide receiver, and I think what you saw in that play was what makes Oklahoma State so devastating offensively. That was an option fake down the line with the Heisman Trophy winner being faked the ball on a quick pass to a guy who'll be a #1 draft pick this year. That's tough.
Sanders on 2nd and 3. Appears to be beyond the first down marker. David Dean from right defensive end in on the stop. Left of your screen there, Mike Wolf, 62, a senior for Oklahoma State. One of the most amusing things that happened yesterday at the pre-bowl banquet was when Wolf was invited up to speak. He looked out into the crowd and says, "Where's number 99?" The Dean stood up and he said, "Don't try that swim move on me, buddy. It's not going to work." First quarter has come to a close. Oklahoma State and Wyoming, it's all tied up after 1 quarter of the Holiday Bowl. Tonight in Oklahoma State with the football. And Mike Gundy doing some improvising out over the 40-yard line as the Cowboys get the second quarter underway. The story in San Diego so far. Wyoming did not move the football on its first couple of possessions. Barry Sanders has gone 7 for 47, a 33-yard touchdown included in there. The defense for Pat Jones has played well. Mike Gundy has been flawless passing, and Wyoming turned a turnover into a score. Looks like the big fullback straight ahead. Out over the 40-yard line. Garrett Limbrink, number 32. A 3-year starter, was a high school quarterback, and became a fullback at Oklahoma State as a sophomore. The Oklahoma State assistant coaches recruit a lot of high school quarterbacks and do other things with them. Right now they're trying to turn them into some good athletes on defense.
The old Arizona State teams under Frank Kush used to do that. They'd get wide receivers and quarterbacks and turn them into offensive tackles. And they'd run down the field, and they'd all be very quick, and they'd screen block you. It worked very well.
Slashing and jitterbugging of Barry Sanders out over the 45-yard line. Natural grass surface here at Jack Murphy Stadium in San Diego. Oklahoma State has not played on such a surface yet this year.
They didn't feel it would be a factor. As you see the record there, and Wyoming 9-0 on grass. Laramie is grass. They didn't think it would be a factor. I was down on the field, though, and the field is not in great condition. These are unusual shoes, actually. As you see these shoes, those are really AstroTurf shoes. There's a kind of a sharp bottom shoe that some of the guys are wearing that probably would work better.
Gundy whips it out left side. Hartley Dykes with a little bit of a straight arm out there on Eric Coleman, the left cornerback. But there will be times tonight, Kevin, when Wyoming defensive backs will be called on one-on-one against this guy.
Well, they would hope that Oklahoma State won't notice when they're one-on-one. Wyoming doesn't want to get in a position where they have to go man-to-man on him. Again, he's 220, he can jump, he's very strong, and if the ball's up for grabs, he'll grab it.
Barry Sanders barely found the handle before Mike Schenbeck was in on the stop. Along with David Dean from right end, Sanders did well just to tuck it away barely in time.
Well, this is what Wyoming wants to do. They want to force Sanders to the... he almost drops the ball. They want to force him to the sideline. Get him run laterally. That's what you do with great backs. And hope the rest of your defense can fill. What they don't want him to do is to be able to turn it upfield and go right through the center of their defense as he did on the touchdown.
So obviously, every 2 carries for touchdowns for every carry for a loss. Gundy running inside the 40 to the 35. Pump faking while on the full run, and that helped to keep the secondary of Wyoming honest. Vaughn Henderson, who spells Willie Wright at strong side linebacker, in on the stop.
Well, you have to keep contained when you have a quarterback that can run the ball. Comes Donahue trying to get upfield, and he does it. He's buried by 2. Kidder is one of them, Oklahoma State people. And what happened also was the linebacker, Henderson, that went out, turned his back. As you see, Raybold is down and a little bit shaken up. Henderson turned his back on the quarterback, and that allowed Gundy to get upfield.
So we're 2 minutes and 41 seconds into the second quarter of play. All the scoring in the first quarter so far, it's 7-7.
According to a national survey, employers...
San Diego, California is being brought to you by the U.S. Army. Learn how to get an edge on life. Be all you can be. And by the German-engineered Volkswagens and your Volkswagen dealers. With Kevin Kiley and Charlene Hawks, Bob Carpenter at Jack Murphy Stadium, San Diego. It's 7-7 between Oklahoma State and Wyoming as we get further into the second quarter of play. We've got 12 minutes and 11 seconds remaining. This is the fullback, Garrett Limbrick. It's Donahue from left defensive end for Wyoming in on the stop. And above, it's the Goodyear Blimp Columbia, based up in Carson, California, in the LA area. Captained by John Creighton of Redondo Beach. Goodyear Blimps travel over 100,000 miles every year, covering major sporting events, and bring us gorgeous shots like the ones you'll enjoy of San Diego's Mission Valley here tonight. Sanders, and unable to get away. Sanders wrapped up by Vaughn Henderson, 94. Henderson, a junior out of Denver, who goes 6'1", 226.
Del White excuse me, Bobby, Del White, the defensive coordinator for Wyoming, said they were going to play inside out defensively, and they've done a tremendous job of it early. What they're doing is they're stuffing the inside holes on the offensive line of Oklahoma State, and they're forcing Sanders laterally, and that was a perfect illustration of it. Time of possession, Wyoming right even with Oklahoma State, and even in the score.
On 2nd and 9, Sanders had it bounce off his shoulder pad again and just kept possession. Henderson, 94, causing problems for Oklahoma State again.
He's very quick, Henderson. That's why he's in the game. And again, they go to the option now. They've stuffed the middle, so they try outside. Wyoming's got him going laterally. They do a tremendous job on Gundy, make him pitch it poorly. And Henderson, quick as a cat, outside to stop him. This is good defense, but they pointed, as you see Cowboy Joe, they pointed out one thing, though. They said that Sanders is a guy that does not get down on himself. That's why he won the Heisman. He'll stay in the game, and he can pop one at any time, so you got to play 60 minutes.
3rd and long, the 12th play of this drive. And Gundy had Dykes right through the arms of Hartley. Good defense by free safety Darrell Harris, number 12. And it'll be 4th and 11 for Oklahoma State. Was a little slant in, and Dykes could not handle the rifle pass of Mike Gundy. Kerry Blanchard. Good percentage, not a whole lot of field goals on the year, 11 out of 12. This will be an attempt of 51 yards. He's 1 for 1, 50 plus. He has kicked a 52-yarder. But this one is wide right.
The ball was blocked, I think. I think somebody got their hand on that.
So with 10 minutes and 11 seconds left before halftime, the score stays 7-7.
The cannonball. The whip. The hurricane. Some call Aerolacine a test track. To us, it's an amusement park. And when a car can handle the rides here, we give it a special name. We call it a Volkswagen. German engineering the Volkswagen way.
What dry was. What dry is. Introducing new Michelob Dry Beer. It's brewed longer to start bold, finish clean, and refresh completely. New Michelob Dry. One taste, and you'll drink it dry.
Talk radio is powerful stuff. One of the year's 10 best. Rex Reed at the movies. A mesmerizing vision of an American landscape. Bruce Williamson, Playboy magazine. Enormously powerful. It will shock you. Jeffrey Lyons, sneak previews. 4 stars. Roger Ebert, Chicago Sun-Times. An Oliver Stone film. Talk radio. Rated R. Now playing in select cities. Starts Friday, January 13th at theaters everywhere.
7-7, second quarter at the Holiday Bowl in San Diego. The student athlete of the game brought to you by the U.S. Army. Get an edge on life. Be all you can be. Tonight's recipient, Wyoming quarterback Randy Welniak. He already has graduated from Wyoming with a 3.5 grade point in finance. Currently pursuing a master's in business. He's the WAC Offensive Player of the Year and dates Miss Wyoming. What more could a guy want?
You got him out of order.
Into the pocket, no one open downfield, and he's knocked down from behind by Marcus Jones. Evidently, good work downfield by the Oklahoma State Cowboys, as Welniak tried to do it, improvising on the run.
We'll give this one to the zebra. Watch Welniak. Look at the official standing behind the line. You're going to lose him for a minute. Now watch Welniak run right up to the official. He's going to run. He says, well, the official makes the play. The official's got contained. Oklahoma State makes the stop. Give an assist to the official.
A rather slow developing draw play, but fairly effective to Peter Gunn. He had to get to the 44 for a first down. It looks like he made it. Peter Gunn, a 5'10 junior out of Denver, who has rushed, received, and thrown the football this season.
Gunn is a better receiver, but with the injury to Dawson, he's in the game. He's rushed for over 400 yards. He can run the ball.
Peter Gunn gained 426 yards this year, averaging 5 yards a carry. So the Wyoming Cowboys on the move, almost out to the 45. And great anticipation from safety, number 7, Lamar McGriggs, coming around the right defensive end and getting into the offensive backfield in a hurry.
I think you're right. A tremendous read. The outside player is watching the tailback. As soon as that tailback, if you're playing defense, the left side of your screen, as soon as that tailback heads up, he was coming all the way, McGriggs, and he was able to close fast enough to catch him before he got to the line of scrimmage. The I formation is not difficult to read. It's a power inside formation. That's where they'll hurt you.
Looking for the motion man, Scott Gibson. Away from one defender and inside Oklahoma State territory. Gibson, a sophomore who looks taller than his 6'1", Melvin Gillum on defense, and Melvin upset at himself for not making the clean open field tackle. Gillum, a former basketball and football player at Oklahoma State. He was a very good basketball player at Washington High School in Tulsa that produced Wayman Tisdale. Then played basketball in Stillwater his first 2 seasons. Said he got a little tired. Now it's just football.
He's the only freshman ever to start in both sports. Averaged over 14 points a game his first year.
3rd down and 4. And too tall for Scott Gibson. Rod Smith, free safety. One of Oklahoma State's best defensive backs, says defensive coordinator Lewis Campbell. In on the coverage, and Wyoming now will face a 4th and 4 at midfield, and the tight end slash punter Tom Kilpatrick is on. Melvin Gillum back near the 20. This is when they want to pooch one down deep. Gillum at his 6, surrounded by white uniforms. 45-yard punt by Tom Kilpatrick. 1 yard on the return. 7:21 second quarter. It's 7-7.
Your Washington area Olds dealers are overstocked. They have to reduce inventory now. This week only, you'll save hundreds.
Midway point, second quarter, 7-7. Cowboys and Cowboys here tonight. Mascots watching, and Oklahoma State deep in its own territory. Barry Sanders out to the 10, down to the sidelines. Here's Charlene Hawks.
Every player on the Wyoming team wears the number 56 on the back of his helmet in memory of teammate Dave Shutt, who was tragically killed in a train accident during the summer. The season was dedicated to Dave, who would have been the starting middle linebacker and most likely the defensive team captain. They said he played with a lot of heart and a lot of desire, and that's exactly the way that the Wyoming team has played this season. Bob?
They certainly have, Charlene. And that goes right to the man at the top, Paul Roach. What a motivator he is, as well as a good football coach.
A similar thing happened when I was in Wyoming. I'll tell you about it a little bit later.
Gundy into his own end zone. Garrett Limbrick receives the pass and gets a few yards out near the 14. Dave Adine, the right defensive end, on the coverage.
When I was at Wyoming, as you look at Pat Jones, when I was at Wyoming in 71 and 72, Ed Sinikowski was our starting quarterback, a tremendous athlete from New York, and he drowned just before the season started. And I can remember how devastating it was for the team, and for a team to come back, we did not come back and win the conference championship. For a team to come back from that type of loss is a tremendous credit to Paul Roach and the entire organization of Wyoming.
There was some movement on the left side of the Oklahoma State line. 99 Roger Gibbs, a backup tight end, had some movement. The Cowboys of Wyoming came storming across. Mike Gundy was having trouble hearing and communicating with his other 10 players. Oklahoma State's reaction looks like Wyoming's offside. What a big thing to happen on 3rd and 3.
Yeah, what Paul Roach is arguing about, he wants to know if he made contact. If the defensive player on the right side of your screen will be Schenbeck. If he makes contact, right side, number 55, if he makes contact, see the offensive player should be able to reset. Now that looks like a bad call. Looks like it was the offensive player. And that's what Paul Roach is saying. He can get back if he doesn't make contact. The defensive player, the offensive player cannot move.
First man through, the fullback, Garrett Limbrick. It's Donahue to meet him from left defensive end. And if Oklahoma State goes nearly the length of the field here in the last 5.5 minutes of the second quarter, that is a call that will be looked back upon. Garrett Limbrick has been rather busy so far. He's carried the ball several times, 3 for 11 unofficially. Just over 5 minutes left in the second quarter. A flag flies as Gundy goes up the right sideline and hits Jared Green. A flag lays back at the 16-yard line.
That's going to be a holding call on Oklahoma State. Gundy should have run that ball in wide open field. I talked to Pat and Paul Roach before the game, and they both felt that their defenses, I was saying points, and I was talking 50-50 tie here, and Paul
Holding offense.
Let's take a look at this holding call. It's going to be Chris Stanley, number 59. Little collar. Thank you very much. Cut off the air and drag him down. Mitch Donahue was the recipient. That's Del White, defensive coordinator. Both head coaches were saying, I was talking about a lot of points, and both of them were saying, no, we think our defenses are going to play well. I still am not ready to sell out here and say there's not going to be a lot of points, but the defenses have definitely played better.
Barry Sanders over the 15, not much there. Vaughn Henderson again from strong side linebacker, spelling Willie Wright at that position for Wyoming. Sanders, keep in mind, he has 13 carries for 61 yards. One of those a 33-yard touchdown run.
Vaughn Henderson is looking like player of the game here. Vaughn Henderson is glued to Sanders' chest early in this game, and he is probably has more physical ability than any other linebacker, and he's right on Sanders.
Gundy improvising beautifully on 3rd and 9, and Huntley Dykes escapes to get the first down. He was stopped by 2 Wyoming defenders, including strong safety Rich Miller, and squirted and turned away, and that means the drive continues.
Well, this is a play that if they did not have the statistics that they had, I would say this ball should never have been thrown, but Gundy delivers it perfectly, and here's this 220 pounds. Double coverage. You're not going to tackle him with plastic. You've got to get a hold of this guy's body. He's very strong. You see him pull away and go for the first down. I said earlier I thought he was the key to the game. I still do. He's impossible to cover. Third catch in double coverage for Dykes.
He beat Coleman and Harris, and Rich Miller made the tackle. Gundy keeping to the 40-yard line. Mitch Donahue and Craig Schlichting in on the stop there for the Cowboys of Wyoming. Total defense, Wyoming giving up less than 300 yards a game, 289. They've been a pretty tough team to run against this year, 109 yards a game.
Well, they were, if you watch the game, they were eaten alive by Houston, but Houston is a team that runs draws and screens. They're not a power running team, and they really messed up the Wyoming defensive scheme and got a lot of yards on him, passes the ball very well.
Clock runs with 3:40 remaining, first half. stopped cold by Mitch Donahue, an all-WAC performer who sacked the quarterback 10 different times this year. Now, they should have known he was the #1 WAC freshman last year when he sacked 7 quarterbacks.
Well, they simply will not let Sanders run inside. Donahue closes. See him right there? Closes from the outside. Sanders with nowhere to run. The interior stuffing it. There's Mitch Donahue. He makes the play, and he can tell his grandchildren, I tackled a Heisman Trophy winner.
For little or if any gain.
Yes.
3rd down and 8, and Gundy wants timeout. So the clock is stopped with 3:02 remaining before halftime. We'll take a timeout from San Diego. First quarter touchdowns by Sanders and Welniak in a tie game.
Volkswagen engineers have spent years refining our front-wheel drive.
3 minutes and 2 seconds remaining, second quarter in San Diego at the Holiday Bowl. And Oklahoma State just saw 6'2", 304-pound right tackle Byron Woodard head for the locker room.
That's the head war pig there. He's out of the game. Big loss you saw earlier on the touchdown play. He had the key block for Sanders.
3rd down and 8 as we return to action after Gundy called timeout. Gundy will run it to midfield. He's got the first down, takes a bunch of hits, and holds on to the football into Wyoming territory.
Well, he never saw Jarrod Green deep. Jarrod Green was 10 yards behind the secondary down the middle of the field, and Mike never saw him. Had he thrown it? All right, shotgun. That's a concession for Oklahoma State. They're a play-action team. They go to the shotgun. Gundy does a nice job of toughing it out and getting the first down, but way downfield was Jarrod Green running loose.
And Gundy with a rather risky move on middle linebacker Steve Addison. Right side, Barry Sanders. Inside the 25 and also inside the 20. That's as good as a pitch to the Heisman Trophy winner. He got a little bit of room on the sideline and almost turned it to a score.
Okay, Hartley, they're going to double cover Hartley, number 11. He's running a post pattern. Now, he's on the same sideline that they're going to throw the ball to. Here comes Dykes trying to get across. Now, here comes the post, and here goes the Wyoming defense. All these guys chasing him, 3 or 4 of them. And now Gundy to the sideline to Barry Sanders. And this is why the all-purpose yardage number is so revealing to find a great back. Because you add all that yardage together.
Garrett Limbrick coming out of the pile. That was a pretty good block he threw outside on that pass play to Barry Sanders.
I was going to tell you about that all-purpose thing. You know, Sanders broke Whizzer White's record in 1937 among all the other records. The all-purpose yardage thing says you're versatile. And that's what you saw from Barry Sanders. He not only rushed for almost 3,000 yards this year on the ground, but he caught passes and he returns kickoffs. And that's why that record lasted for all those years, about 51 to be exact.
Under 2 minutes remaining in the first half. Gundy inside the 5, and what a catch by Hartley Dykes. A ball skipping just higher than the turf, and Dykes, with hands gloved, went down to get it.
This guy's a magnificent athlete, the center of controversy certainly this year. In NCAA investigations, he can make unbelievable, he can do just incredible things. A 220-pound wide receiver gets by the referee. You just saw not a very good pass, but a tremendous catch.
First and goal for the Cowboys of OSU. Barry Sanders for the touchdown. Sanders with his second score of the night, and with 1:29 before halftime, Oklahoma State has the lead. And remember the call way back in Cowboy territory.
First down on the penalty.
Harry Blanchard for the extra point. An NCAA record 67 in a row during the season. No problem on 2 here tonight. It's 14-7 Oklahoma State.
Well, what makes a back 5'8", 197 pounds so tough and a guy who can win the Heisman Trophy? Watch Barry Sanders go into the end zone and watch the way he does it. Base is so important in football. Stops. Watch him stop again. Both feet under him when he jumps. He's got the power. He has that ability to stop and start. Again, watch his feet. Watch how he keeps both feet under him at all times. Stops. Watch him go to the right, and he jumps with both feet. Boom, he's in the end zone, and he's in the end zone with power. And power is the name of the game, even though he's a small guy.
Barry Sanders, you're looking at only 5 of the 24 NCAA records that he was responsible for during the '88 football season. And by the way, also win the Maxwell Award come February. The Heisman is already his, of course, and he is for real. He did it without the help of being on TV every other week, like some of the Heisman hopefuls basically averaged throughout the season. He went out and did it on the field, and did it Barry Sanders style, quietly and effectively.
Well, I had said he is one of the few people I have ever seen that you didn't have to see to know how good he was. He could be evaluated off a piece of paper, and that's an incredible thing if you think about it.
Gary Blanchard's kick taken by Steve McMillan of Wyoming. Jumping and leaping out to the 25. He lost the football, but the ground caused the fumble. Steve McMillan, a right cornerback who doesn't see a whole lot of action returning kicks, with a wild one that time.
Well, you just saw a long drive by Oklahoma State. They took the lead, but let's go back to 3rd and 12 on the 14-yard line. 3rd and 3, excuse me, on the 14-yard line. There was movement by the Oklahoma State player. They called it offsides on Wyoming. It gave Oklahoma State a first down. Clearly, it was movement on the offense, a missed call. The result, eventually a touchdown for Oklahoma State. It's a big call in this game.
Melniak running out of time. Fumble. I heard the whistle blow as David Bailey fell on the football. It looks like Wyoming will keep possession.
He's calling this. I think he's calling it a forward pass. I don't understand that. They're going to return this to the line of scrimmage. Here's Welniak. He's screened. He was screened by a player there, but okay, here from the back. And the official, well, that's a fumble. Whoa, that's a fumble.
Absolutely. Brandon Colbert pressuring the quarterback. David Bailey fell on it. You saw the reaction of Pat Jones. He thought it was too comical a call to even get mad about.
Hell, you remember that goal we just showed you on Oklahoma State? They're even.
Welniak on the shotgun draw. Ball is out over the 25. A flag flies. Scott Gibson, 43, that 6'2", 201 sophomore, staying busy for Paul Roach's Cowboys tonight. Nearly the length of the field, nearly 6 minutes and a dozen plays. The penalty was a big help. Oklahoma State got the Barry Sanders 2-yard jump for the touchdown to take the 14-7 lead.
You may remember last year, those of you that saw the Holiday Bowl, Wyoming lost by a point to Iowa.
Holding, defense, offense, decline.
And in that game, Wyoming was driving for a possible winning touchdown or field goal, and there was a pass. There was a holding call. Paul Roach mentioned that at the banquet yesterday about how he had wished that that call hadn't been made. If this game turns out to be an Oklahoma State victory and a close one, he may be wishing about that other call.
Welniak up into the pocket and lets it fly down the field. And it's too long for Freddie Doucette. There is a flag back near the line of scrimmage. Mike Clark downfield against the speedy senior from L.A., all-WAC performer Freddie Doucette.
Well, that rotator cuff just tossed it 55 yards. That wounded rotator cuff.
Motion, offense, decline. 4th down.
Kicking situation for Wyoming. 57 seconds left before halftime. Tom Kilpatrick will let it fly from inside his zone 15. Oklahoma State with Barry Sanders back near his zone 30 figures to get good field position. Wobbly kick shanked to the right, but a great bounce. That'll take it just inside the 35. So Oklahoma State will have 47 seconds left to try to add to that 14-7 lead in the second quarter. 41 yards on the kick and no return. A lot of things coming up for you at halftime tonight. We'll let you visit SeaWorld, one of the great tourist attractions here in San Diego. The guys from Wichita, Dabby Dawson and Barry Sanders, will even take you inside the homes, and the Brunson brothers will play, as well as the fireworks show here at Jack Murphy Stadium. You got to hear those 4 trumpets. They're pretty impressive.
I say I stay around for halftime at this point.
We're going to go.
Off the shotgun. Gundy wrapped up, and he is down. Mitch Donahue from left end with a nice play, refusing to let go of this elusive quarterback. Boys will huddle up and line up in a hurry as the clock now runs inside 30. They have a field goal kicker who's got some range. Gundy let about 6 seconds get wasted there. The clock was stopped momentarily on the stack with 30 seconds remaining. It's down to 24.
Well, I think a legitimate play here is to take Dykes and run him deep 40 yards downfield and throw the ball up and let him go up and get it. I think that's the advantage he has. He's 6'4", 220 pounds. And if he can just get only 2 guys on him, I mean, Eric Coleman's the best defensive back for Wyoming. He's 5'11", 184 pounds. So you have a legitimate threat here if you want to throw it up there 40 or 45 yards down the field and let Hardlee go up and try and get it.
ESPN's bowl coverage continues Sunday with the Mazda Gator Bowl, Spartans and the Bulldogs, and Vince Dooley's swan song as the head man of Georgia. On Monday, New Year's game day with Tim Brando and Beano Cook. They'll preview all the big bowl games. We'll have live reports from several of them. And Tim will also have Pitt head coach Mike Gottfried, whose team took on both Notre Dame and West Virginia this year, to talk about that big national championship showdown in Tempe. Mike Gundy came in #1 in Big 8 history, 65%. But he's up in the 80s and 90s tonight as far as percentage.
The best pass he threw was dropped by Dykes.
Barry Sanders getting loose out over the 40. The clock is down to 15 seconds. They'll stop it and move the chains. How's that for a hurry-up offense? Give it to your tailback.
That tailback.
That's right. And remember, Kerry Blanchard, the Oklahoma State place kicker, has hit from as far away as 52 yards this year. He was wide right, but had enough distance on a 51-yard attempt a few minutes ago, and evidently a big one will be tacked on against Wyoming here.
It's interesting that against Sanders, because this is a face mask penalty.
15 yards, defense, first down.
That's a very interesting penalty. Now, here's a guy, that's an intentional face mask on Sanders, and I believe he's a guy that you would intentionally grab his face mask just to get a hold of him. Because if you don't hold him, he's gone.
Gundy down the middle. Hardlee Dykes has it. Inside the 20-yard line, and they'll have a chance to stop the clock and maybe kick a field goal.
Call time. Call timeout!
We stop at number 12, Darrell Harris for Wyoming.
All right, field goal right now. Field goal right now. Field goal. Let's field goal. You got to let us down. All right, let's go.
This is what we were calling for this, and this is really, there's no mystery here. They put him inside, tougher to double cover him. He's the inside receiver. They get him on the post. Beautiful pass by Gundy. He didn't have to go up for it. Darrell Harris nailed him, but not before he caught it. Big hit, big hit.
So this will be a 32-yard attempt. Hardlee Dykes, 6 catches, 88 yards now. And Kerry Blanchard has been flawless from this distance. The holder is senior defensive end Rod Gaines. The snapper is Bill Jones, a senior. And it's right through, and Oklahoma State with an impressive quick drive all the way down for a 32-yard field goal, leads it 17-7 with 1 second left before halftime. Pretty good job by Rod Gaines, the holder, Kevin. There was some problem here.
It really was. A good job by the kicker, too. This ball is kind of bouncing around. The kicker keeps his Blanchard, keeps his concentration. Just right through the ball and knocked it in.
How did Rod Gaines get that ball teed up and get his hands out of the way?
He didn't. He kicked his hands, too. It's Pat. Pat's happy. 3-point. He'll take 3.
That was an impressive quick drive using Sanders, Gundy, and Dykes, the big 3 of Oklahoma State. And then the kicker finishes it off.
Well, we made that point, you know, early. This is a very interesting team. Without one of those players, this team might be a 500 football team. They're all intertwined, but you can't really do without any of them. Sanders won the Heisman, but he probably would not have without Dykes, because he draws all that double coverage and makes you respect the pass. And then, of course, there's Gundy, who is so accurate, and maybe the missing piece in the whole puzzle.
Mike Gundy, as a senior next year, will need 800 yards to pass Frank Sire of Kansas as the #1 passing quarterback in Big 8 history. Right now, he's happy with a 10-point lead heading into the locker room, barring some kind of Wyoming big play on the kickoff. Peter Gunn is back there with Steve McMillan for the Cowboys of Wyoming. Blanchard will just squib it so that an up man will have to handle it. It's on the ground, and the first half comes to a close. Oklahoma State 17, Wyoming 7 after 38 minutes of play. And Kevin Kiley, your quick impression of the first half.
I'm surprised. Excellent defensive play by both teams. Oklahoma State came out with a blitz. It was very effective, then backed off and still managed to play very good defense against an excellent Cowboy offense. I look for adjustments. Paul Roach does a great job of that, and they'll do it at halftime. And more of the same from Oklahoma State. And I think a great second half. I'm enjoying it.
We've heard stadium, and we're set for the second half of play as Sean Fleming kicks it, and it's inside the 10 where Barry Sanders bats it down. And a kickoff return that never really materializes for Oklahoma State. And let's look at the numbers, Kevin, for the first 30 minutes of play. Oklahoma State with the edge in passing. Mike Gundy has been most effective running and throwing.
Yeah, he's been the key to the offense, I think. Sanders, of course, has the touchdowns, but Gundy, if you look at the accuracy there, rushing yards for Wyoming, they were not expected to do much more than that. Passing yards, however, for Wyoming, 33 yards in the first half that's just a tremendous job by State.
Gundy with a pitch to Sanders, and he's bumped outside. And that's what Wyoming wants Barry Sanders to do. They feel he's a great inside runner. They want him running toward the sideline. Here's the possession chart for the Cowboys of Oklahoma State. 6 plays, the 33-yard touchdown run by Sanders capping it off for the score. Then a fumble and a missed field goal from 51. With the help of a penalty, a long touchdown drive. With the help of a great catch by Dykes, a field goal drive just before halftime.
The field goal, I thought, was the most damaging drive of all because they did it in 2 plays.
With a Sanders run and a Dykes catch. Here's Barry Sanders dancing his way over the 30. Gang tackling. You see number 12, Darrell Harris, up from free safety. Mike and the Mechanics is what they called the linebackers at Wyoming. Mike Schenbeck, 55.
Jason Kidder, number 73. You don't have to do much. He just gets a hat on Ray Bowl, gets a little seam, and Barry Sanders. You have to be careful when you're playing football, coming out of the locker room. It's very difficult to get loose again, and when you have a guy like Sanders, you have to be mobile. He's got 18 carries, 79 yards in this game, and if these guys go to sleep, Wyoming is going to be trouble.
Sanders again over the 40, and as he got over the 40-yard line, he was pushed back. But Barry Sanders is starting to run inside, and that's something Wyoming was most concerned about. Now, Kevin, folks may think, oh, he gets outside and gets all those big yards. But what about his inside running that Wyoming was so concerned about?
Well, the reason you're concerned about inside running is because the shortest distance is a straight line. And if you go laterally, you're wasting your time, and your team has more time. You're wasting your running. You have more time to react.
They're dangerous on 2nd and short, these Cowboys of Oklahoma State. And Gundy showed some experience right there. He was being wrapped up by Mitch Donahue, and he got it away and rid of it in a hurry.
Well, I'll tell you, what a great job by Eric Coleman at the corner. What you're going to see here is Donahue beating Woodard, who's a little slowed down. He was injured early. Gundy got rid of the ball, but Coleman on the corner with Dykes. Bravo there putting the pressure on. Did it great. They wanted to do a stop and go, and Coleman just leveled Dykes, wouldn't let him get away, and Gundy had nowhere to throw the ball.
To Sanders on 3rd and 2. That's a first down. Inside the 35, and maybe another face mask penalty. Steve McMillan and Darrell Harris finally running down Barry Sanders, but you might see another face mask on the heels of this one.
I'll tell you what, if I was chasing him, I'd grab his face mask, his chin strap, anything I could get my hands on. Now you're starting to see Barry Sanders. Left side. Tight end, man on the outside. Number 99, that's Roger Gibbs. Look at that hole. You don't have to be a Heisman winner. Now, here's the problem. He's 5'8", 197 pounds, like tackling a fire plug. You just can't do it. He's carrying people 10 yards. How do you get him down? That's the way, and that'll cost you more yards. I'm not saying it's the way to do it, but I'm saying against a great back, it's not uncommon to grab a face mask.
Oklahoma State that quickly down to the 25 of Wyoming. Here's the fullback, Garrett Limbrick. And he's down near another first down as Oklahoma State keeps it inside. You're seeing the secondary men of Wyoming making the tackles now.
Well, this is that early second half syndrome. Defensively, when you come out, it's very difficult to get loose. Paul Roach knows he has to stop this team here because his offense has only got 57 yards in the first half.
The fullback again, Limbrick, has the first down inside the 15. Craig Schlichting, a 6'5", 250 junior, wraps him up. But I have to think that right now that man's feeling pretty good about the way this third quarter has started.
You know what, I think he's scared to death. It's a lot easier. I'd hate to blow a lead. I'd rather come back and win. Wyoming is a very powerful and explosive team. No, I think you're right. I think coming out and doing this and early, he'd be a lot better if they get in the end zone.
Let's see how well the Cowboys keep doing on first down. That's a touchdown! Brent Parker from Mike Gundy. And it was a freshman in the secondary, Steve Mann, that they got by for the score.
They ran the ball, and then they were able to throw to Parker, who only had one touchdown catch on the year. Little post pattern, one man. You see, they beat man, single coverage.
As usual, Kerry Blanchard flawless on the point after. So 3 minutes and 7 seconds into the second half, Oklahoma State moves the ball a long way and caps it off with Mike Gundy to Brent Parker for a touchdown. It's 24-7. In Charlene Hawks, Bob Carpenter, Jack Murphy Stadium, San Diego. Oklahoma State with a 17-point lead as it's down to the 10-yard line, and Steve McMillan. Some good sticking there by Oklahoma State on special teams. Lamar Griggs in on the play, Gerald Hudson as well. And Oklahoma State with an impressive drive. They go 80 yards in just over 3 minutes. It took less than 10 plays, and Brent Parker caught his second touchdown pass of the year from Mike Gundy. And Kevin, it's a 17-point game, but does that mean much?
Ask Air Force. This is crippling to Wyoming. 57 yards in the first half. This is their first possession in the second half. For those of you who don't know, I'm referring to Air Force. 5 scores in the last quarter Wyoming had against Air Force.
To win that game, 48-45. Play action to the fullback. Nowhere to throw. And defending there on Freddie Doucette, Melvin Gillum. Incomplete out at midfield. There's a flag at the 30-yard line.
The ball should have been caught. It should have been caught by Doucette. What Paul Roach said coming out of the locker room, I think, is indicative of the problem here with Wyoming. Welniak is not pulling the trigger. Watch what happens. He's got play action here. He's going to come out right there. He can't make a decision. He had time there. He didn't make the decision, and now he's going to make a bad decision. He throws a die and duck into the middle of the field, but Doucette, a little offensive interference. He should have caught that ball. Gillum was behind him, but he really wasn't in position to make the play, and Doucette just dropped it. I think they're tentative. I think what he said is right. They're tentative. They've got to make quick decisions and start throwing to hot receivers, and he's just not doing it.
Well, they'll move it back 5 yards, and Wyoming will have 1st and 15. Scott Gibson motioning near side. Well, they active Freddie Doucette. We haven't heard much from Doucette tonight, who caught a team-leading 39 passes coming in. That was his first reception in the Holiday Bowl tonight. Now let's check the Wyoming possession chart in the first half. A couple of 4-play drives and then kicks. They win 9 plays for Welniak's bootleg touchdown. 5 more plays and a kick. And then it was all Oklahoma State at the end. Not many possessions for a team averaging 41 points a game.
And Welniak was a big part of the only scoring drive, and he hasn't done much since.
Here come the Cowboys, and a quick opener to Peter Gunn. Over the 30, hit hard and down at the 32. Mike Clark and others coming hard, and that time they open it up quickly with Gunn spelling the injured Dabby Dawson.
Well, this is a play that could break big against his defense. Here comes the blitz. It's inside the blitz, but what Oklahoma State does so well, they get him running laterally, and then Oklahoma State has better speed than Wyoming, and they're able to run him down. Watch Mike Clark, number 1 defensive back, able to slip the block, stay out there, get a piece of the tackle.
Welniak straight ahead. First down, Freddie Doucette out near midfield. So a little bit of a look-in by the wide receiver, Doucette, and it's good for 15 yards and a first down.
It's a hot receiver. See, that's an inside receiver, not a tight end, but a closer receiver to the quarterback running a hot pattern. They'll slow down the blitz with that, and I think you got to watch the tight end. Gordy Wood was wide open about 4 plays ago, and look for number 95 if he's in the game, or number 16, Kilpatrick. They were running up the middle, and nobody was on him.
Quickly out to Doucette. That ball is supposed to be high and outside to the receiver. It sailed high and inside, and he doesn't get it that high. It might be interception problems because the cornerback was coming up. Jay Fleischman also helping out from free safety.
Yeah, you're exactly right. If the corner was looking at the ball and not looking at the player, there's a chance to intercept that ball. But notice how they've gone to quick routes now. Everything is a quick 2-3-step drop, throw the ball out. And that was their original game plan they were forced out of.
We're still in the first 5 minutes of the third quarter. A little flip, and it is to Tom Kilpatrick, the tight end. His first reception of the night. Kilpatrick was a second-team All-WAC performer with 27 catches, and so Moore getting involved in the offense now.
Well, it has to work. We talked about the tight end. State's just coming in. Here you go. A little hot receiver to Kilpatrick. He's got 7 touchdowns. He has more touchdowns than any other receiver on this team, and he's the tight end. We haven't heard from the tight end. Doesn't make sense. Nice running by Kilpatrick. Wyoming on the move now. Little short pass.
Rod Smith and Torrance Cummings downfield, forced to make the tackles. Down by David Bailey. Bailey goes 6'4", 235. Kevin, earlier you mentioned the rotator cuff injury in April of '87 to Randy Welniak. He is not as much of an over-the-top thrower as he used to be. Tall linemen can bat down his passes.
That's a very good point. And what it means for Welniak, he needs to wait for people to clear. Freddie Doucette cleared about a half a count after he threw that ball. If he just wait, be a little bit of patient, be a little patient, and have some confidence in that offensive line, he's going to break some receivers open.
Welniak 7 of 11 for 68 yards. Out to the left, and Scott Gibson thinking about his running route before he made the reception. But we're seeing the continued emergence of Peter Gunn and Scott Gibson at tailback with Dabby Dawson not available.
Here's an example of Welniak's arm. Look at that. That's not really a true quarterback motion. You can see how weak his arm is. That ball has to be rifled. He floated it out of there. He kind of threw it kind of three-quarter, as you were saying earlier.
Sophomore out of Omaha. And another receiver catching for the first time tonight.
All right, you got Oklahoma State going backwards. They want to make a big play. Here they come inside with the blitz. Wyoming picks it up, and that leaves man coverage. The defensive back's going to slip. You see all that room? Now Wyoming's on the move. Those little short passes. Melvin Gillum is the one who slipped. The little short passes have really cost Oklahoma State now. They don't know where to go.
Play action to both backs. Into the end zone. And Melvin Gillum knocks it down. Intended receiver was Tom Kilpatrick. And Gillum, the experienced senior with 14 career interceptions, back to bet it down.
That ball had to be thrown quicker. That was up for grabs, and Kilpatrick will be playing defense. Watch 16. He's the defensive back here. He does a nice job. Move him. Let's get him over there next year.
Hey, he also punts.
Yeah, he punts. Yeah, anything he throws here, he's got to throw it quick.
Here comes the blitz. And they got Welniak from behind. It'll be an incomplete pass. The arm was definitely moving forward. Jay Fleischman, a 5'10 freshman who spells Rod Smith at free safety, got to the arm of Welniak and injured it just a bit.
Well, see, that's why I said he had to throw it quick. The difference, the biggest weakness Wyoming's offense has against Oklahoma State's defense is that they are faster and they're shiftier, more elusive. And at Wyoming, to counter that, they need to throw the ball faster. Anytime Welniak has to sit and wait, he's going to be in danger. Whatever they do, they've got to do quick. And the right side of the field is to the left, so look for something crossing from left to right.
Smith free safety on the coverage, but the quick out to 5'10", 180, Freddie Doucette.
All right, what they do here, I said left to right. What they do, watch, they'll run the outside receivers across, run the defense off, and then Welniak gets it out here to Doucette. It's a foot race, and he loses it. Now you've got a big play.
First and goal for Wyoming at the Oklahoma State 4-yard line. They'll bring in 3 tight ends, and they've been great this year, short yardage.
But they don't have Dabby Dawson. He's out of the game. That could make a difference.
Randy Welniak now 9 of 16 for 102 yards, most of them on this drive.
Welniak is their biggest threat this close.
Done it again, and Wyoming is on the scoreboard.
Give that man an assist right there, Paul Rhodes. That was a tremendous drive for a team that could only get 57 yards in the first half. They changed their entire philosophy. Now, Welniak wants to throw it, but he's a runner, a wishbone quarterback. As soon as he can't throw it, here he comes.
Extra point, no problem for Sean Fleming. And it's in a 10-point game again. It was 17-7 at the half. It's now 24-14. 8:31 remaining, third quarter. The Cowboys are battling at the Holiday Bowl. Man gets it for Oklahoma State. Mike Clark, a defensive back, as Wyoming squibbed the kick. OSU will come out with field position between the 30 and the 35. Let's check that scoring drive. A dozen plays, 3/4 of the field, but it didn't take very long. 3:17. Randy Welniak passed for most of it, ran for the last of it, and we've still got a lot of time left in the third quarter.
What they did there was they turned Oklahoma State's defensive philosophy against them. They negated that rush, a lot of short passes, and then when they got in close, they used their main weapon, the WAC Player of the Year, Welniak, a brilliant drive, and Paul Roach at halftime. I'm sure they made those adjustments.
Oklahoma State has had 2 quick scoring drives lately. Let's see how they answer. How about Barry Sanders to midfield? He might go! Doesn't Dad love it? 67 yards.
I told you earlier in the game about Barry Sanders. He was having a rough time. What the coaches, both teams, said about him was he's the type of kid, no matter how tough it is, no matter rough it's going, he's going to hang in there and he's going to break one. And that's why we thought he'd get 200 tonight, and now he's on schedule.
And what a devastating blow to Wyoming. They worked so long and hard for their score. Sanders gets it back on 1 play. And with 8:13 remaining in the third quarter, Oklahoma State leads it 31-14.
You're going to see all the elements here. First, watch number 32, the fullback, Garrett Lindbrook. He's going to lead through the hole, and now here's the ability that Sanders has to cut. Watch his feet. Watch his feet. Look at the balance, and now he's gone. Don't tackle him on the upper body. You can't get him down. They didn't get him down there, and now the speed. Now the speed. Watch his feet. He never commits. See how he gets both feet down? All the time, he's got those both feet on the ground, and now just flat-out speed from the Heisman Trophy winner.
And the quietness of the Wyoming sideline watching him flash by. Yay, Barry! All right, Dad. What's he wearing a Kansas Jayhawk hat for, though?
Well, they are from Kansas, and the recruiting story on Barry Sanders is very interesting. There weren't many teams that wanted or even thought about Barry Sanders, and Barry Sanders came out of Wichita the year that Mike Gottfried left Kansas, and Bob Elisende took over, and there was some confusion, and he slipped through. And that's how they got him at Oklahoma State. They sniffed him out. They brought him to Oklahoma State. He backed up Thurman Thomas, and now he's got a Heisman.
The other 2 teams that wanted Barry Sanders were Iowa State and Tulsa. Not exactly nationally recruited was the Heisman winner. Here's Peter Gunn on the return. And had he not run into some of his own players, like Pete Wilkie, he might have gone a little bit further. But it is Wyoming with the ball, and now to the sidelines. Here's Charlene Hawks.
We've got just about the entire Sanders clan down here on the ground, and Dad Sanders is standing right here, and they just about had to tackle you to keep you from getting on the field.
That was a great run. Great run.
You get a little excited, right?
I really am. I'm so happy for Barry. I really am happy for Barry.
Okay, and this is the other half of probably the greatest brother duo in college football today, Byron Sanders, and he had a fantastic year at Northwestern this year. I understand the whole clan came out on a bus along with Dabby Dawson's family.
Yeah, we thought it was better that the 2 families get together. We were all friends anyway. Right. We thought that, you know, it would make a better trip all together.
Okay, thank you. Bob?
All right, and a footnote to that story, Byron rushed for 1,000 yards plus up at Northwestern this year. Meanwhile, some heads are hanging for the Cowboys of Wyoming. They just saw something that they didn't see much of this year, well, if at all.
No one has stopped Barry Sanders. It'd be absurd to think they were going to stop Barry Sanders in this game. The problem with Wyoming is not the defense. The problem is the offense. They need to outscore this team.
2nd and 6 at the 30. Randy Welniak up the middle, and the orange jerseys and pants collapse on him in a hurry. He thought he had some running room. There is a flag lying on the field. Sean Mackey in on the stop. You also see 98 David Bailey in motion against the offense. Looks like they hollered 88 motion, which would be Freddie Doucette.
Illegal motion, offense, decline.
Let's update the numbers on the Heisman Trophy winner. 225 is the Holiday Bowl record. Part of the Pony Express. Craig James of SMU has that record. Eric Dickerson probably had a few that night as well.
He just broke the record for touchdowns in a Holiday Bowl. It was shared by 8 players. It's now shared by 1.
On 3rd and 7, it may have been tipped, but good coverage downfield by Oklahoma State. Again, Welniak was looking for Freddie Doucette. Rod Smith, free safety on the receiver, and it'll be kicking time for Wyoming.
Oklahoma State countered that series with a strong zone. Welniak threw right into it. There was nobody there.
Kilpatrick will be kicking to Melvin Gillum. Nice spiral, hangs up for a while. Fair catch at the 32. A 39-yard kick with no return. Be sure to be with ESPN tomorrow for a special Saturday edition of NFL Game Day in prime time. At 11:30 a.m. Eastern, Chris Berman, Tom Jackson, and Pete Axtell preview the day's divisional playoffs. They're all back at 7:30 for a recap. And they're back Sunday in their regular time slots with a look at the other divisional playoffs. It's Friday night, and we're in San Diego, Jack Murphy Stadium. 7:39 remaining third quarter. Oklahoma State has control of the game at the moment, leading Wyoming 31-14. Play action to Sanders. Gundy with time to Barry Sanders. He broke one tackle, almost broke another one, and he's out over the 35-yard line. It's a heart attack on the opposing sideline every time he has it in the open field.
I can't imagine what it would be like to be standing there alone when Barry Sanders caught a pass in front of you.
Your whole football career flashes before your eyes.
That's about how long it would take him to get in the end zone.
He turns nothing into a gain of 6 on first down. Hartley Dykes has the first down. And he's down near the Wyoming 45-yard line. Hartley caught the ball in the same motion, did a 360 to get away from a cornerback and get further down the sideline for a 22-yard gain. You think they look to him in important situations?
Well, here, look what happened. His first reception, 11 yards for a first down. Second for 7 yards, 2nd and 3. And then all first down receptions. The man is a #1 pick. Tremendous athlete.
He's caught 7 for 110 yards. The other half of that offensive tandem, Barry Sanders, gets 3 maybe down to the 41-yard line before Mike Shenbeck makes the tackle. What about the Wyoming defense and the time it's spending on the field right now, Kevin? That's definitely something to think about between now and the final gun.
Well, unless I'm mistaken, they weren't on the field very long in the last series. I think
except for that, they have.
I think if it was a pounding, it'd be one thing, but chasing a guy down the field doesn't take long, eh?
2nd and 6. Mike Gundy ducks down for a first down inside the 35. Shenbeck again from weak side linebacker. The all-WAC performer required to stop the quarterback, and they'll keep moving the chains.
What's happened here to the Wyoming defense, Bobby, is in the first half they did a good job of shutting Sanders down as much as you can. They've not done that here, so they haven't stopped even the basic run of this team. That'll open up the passing game and Gundy's ability to run, and they just have to establish something defensively, and they've not been able to do it.
Sanders on the deep throw. Not a whole lot there. Nicely done by Pat Raybould, the left tackle, the WAC Defensive Player of the Year. Shenbeck, 55, also active. Pat Raybould out of Glencoe, Illinois. Had some pretty serious surgery a couple years ago. He had spine and pelvis problems back in '85 and has come back strong.
Now everybody he gets his hands on has spine and pelvis problems.
He lays a few hits on some folks. Look at the total yards, almost a 300-yard advantage. Gundy over the top for Dykes. They're not only not tall enough, but not quick enough to keep with Hartley, who turned back toward the quarterback and seemingly never lost stride.
Eric Coleman, number 23. You just can't play defense like this. Watch Eric Coleman. He's going to turn around. And now he has to look back when Dykes looks back. What's he doing? You can't just run. You got to look. He doesn't know enough to put his hands up if he can't see the ball. That's just basic defense.
Now it's 8 catches for 125 yards for Hartley Dykes. Barry Sanders, nothing inside, nothing outside. The clock continues to run with 4:45 remaining in the third quarter. It was 17-7 at the half after a 7-7 first quarter score. Oklahoma State with quick hits in this period on a touchdown pass to Brent Parker, a Barry Sanders coast-to-coast jaunt. Randy Welniak with a Wyoming record touchdown for 7 points in this quarter. It's 31-14. Gundy running and pumping into the end zone, and a little bit too far for Brent Parker.
Parker did a nice job. Now, Parker was open on the post. Gundy didn't get it to him. And Parker did a tremendous job adjusting and coming back to Gundy and giving him a chance to throw a touchdown pass. Nice job.
Mitch Donahue from left end. A lot of chasing, flushing Gundy out of the pocket. We're seeing the different dimensions of Mike Gundy here tonight, who may not be the greatest pro prospect that scouts would be looking at because of his style. But at this level, he gets it done in many different ways.
They call him a little John Elway. I could take a shot on a little John Elway if I was a pro team.
We'll find out a year from now. Sanders wants to throw back to Gundy.